This morning, December 21st at 10:02 a.m. Eastern Time is winter solstice. The earth and the sun will be positioned so there is the longest period of darkness and the least amount of light in the 24-hour period. The farther north that we live in the northern hemisphere, the more darkness there is, so much so that in Scandinavian countries, there's nearly total darkness around the clock for several weeks. Welcome to Calm in the Chaos Interfaith Center, where we believe that solstice and Christmas and Yule are very connected. The planets were thrown with abandon or carefully placed, your choice of what to believe, so long ago that humans hadn't populated the earth yet. And so we will note that winter solstice was the first formed notable holiday of the three that I mentioned. Solstice is a scientific phenomenon, not a human construct to celebrate anything. But coming with this darkest day of the year is a turning of sorts of the earth, of our souls, of all sorts of things. Just as the moon seems to get larger and larger, and then the day after a full moon begins its shrinking again, the minutes of daylight begin to increase the day after solstice and shrink again after summer solstice. And that begins the opening of ourselves and all of nature into spring. Now, solstice is celebrated as a holy time by people whose faith path is guided by the natural world. Earth-based religions count on the moon, the sun, and the movement of the planets to ground them, to give structure to their year, and to guide their celebrations and rituals. Solstice is a time of reflection for all of us, for going inward and asking ourselves these questions about our values, our deepest, darkest needs, and are they being met? Solstice celebrations almost always include a fire, maybe dancing and singing and good food, all the elements of a holy celebration. There may be poems read, stories told, and there may be a chance to notice the beauty in the darkness. Just a few days after solstice, Christians celebrate the holiday of Christmas, which we have been anticipating with decorations and Christmas finery in stores since October. Nowadays, I notice people celebrating more of what is called a secular Christmas: presents, a tree, lights on the eaves, parties, special cookies, all the elements of a special holiday, but not necessarily with Jesus in sight. There are so many people who still honor the baby's birth in Bethlehem as our reminder that this is the real reason for celebrating Christ's Mass, Christmas. If you are a Christian and celebrating a very sacred time this week, I like to make note of the bigger deal, which is Easter. A pastor told me years and years ago that every December requires an Easter sermon for her. And yet, Easter has not had the cultural grandiosity that Christmas has in this culture. Now, if you're the person who celebrates Yule, I'm afraid you have missed the starting point. Yule is a holiday from the Scandinavian tradition and is celebrated beginning on December 20th, creating the 12 days of Yule. You may have just heard the 12 days of Christmas pop into your head, and there's good reason. Yule traditions and Christmas traditions are intertwined. December 13th is St. Lucy's feast day in the Catholic Church. Now, St. Lucy, a 4th century martyr, is portrayed by a young woman clad in a white robe with a red sash, with a candle-lit wreath on her head, and she marches through town when we have a St. Lucy celebration. She holds a tray of special lucicater buns, symbolizing her taking food to the early Christians who were hiding in the catacombs. Celebrating Yule may feel a lot like celebrating a secular Christmas, as the trappings are quite similar. In Sweden, why was December 13th chosen as St. Lucy's Day, and why did the Christians select December 25th to honor the birth of their namesake? The answer is simple: to outdo the Roman holiday of Saturnalia and the pagan holiday called Yule. And now we come to the third holiday of Christmas. In the past weeks, I have heard Christian folks desiring more of a Jesus centered holiday and less of a secular one. But are they really ready to jump into the full meaning of what that might look like? Celebrating a truly authentic Christ's Mass might mean we don't sing along with the pop songs of All I Want for Christmas Is You and chestnuts roasting on an open fire. And we would only sing the songs that tell of the birth in Bethlehem. Having a more authentic Christmas might mean adhering to and celebrating only those details that are mentioned in the gospel stories of the birth of Jesus. No tree, no mistletoe, no snickerdoodles or candy canes. Many of these trappings were added to the celebrations via Dickens' novels such as The Christmas Carol and stories like E.T.A. Hoffmann's The Nutcracker, which was later used as the basis for a ballet. Yes, we will have presents to mimic those that the sages from the East brought to Jesus. And yes, we will attend worship services and we will light candles to represent Jesus as the light of the world. And we will have a special Christmas celebratory dinner. But that's about it. The original birthday, Christ's Mass, if you will, was not a Hallmark card occasion. There were no reindeer in the Middle East. There was no man clad in a red suit who mysteriously entered homes during the night. There was no one-horse sleigh with bells jingling throughout the ride. No ham, no apple pie. To be truly authentic, we would have to adhere to the diet that Jesus' family was eating. In that geographic region 2,000 years ago, there would have been wheat and barley, mostly made into breads that were served with one-pot stews. Meat was eaten, but rarely, and limited largely to lamb, because Jews were and are forbidden to eat pork and shellfish. Lentils and chickpeas would show up in the stews and soups, along with onions, garlic, and greens. Rounding out the diet would have been figs, dates, grapes, and olives, with olive oil being the source of fat in the meals. And that's about it. I ask us all to pause this week and consider the holy days of whatever faith tradition you hold dear. Be mindful of the activities and their meanings. Choose wisely how you spend your time. This holy season with Hanukkah, Christmas, Yule, and solstice gives all of us a chance to take stock of our relationship to what is sacred and to plan a future with even more of the meaningful parts of the holidays incorporated into our lives. May we all celebrate the richness of those close to us. May we be wealthy enough to share a good meal with friends. May we be generous enough to share our lives with those in need. And may we open our eyes to see that the world is still a most beautiful place. Blessings on all.